leads us to our weekly portion. By the way, the first verse of the weekly portion, which I did not bring here, Exodus 1:1, has that directive, hey, ve'ele shemot bnei Yisrael haba'im mitzrayma, with the at the end of Mitzrayim, marking coming towards Egypt, as it marks to the movement toward a certain place. So and that's the first verse of the book of Exodus that has that directive ending like Habaita Mitzrayma. And let's see what we do have and what's the ideas that we have in the connection between the Parasha and the Haftarah. And let's go, guys. Let's start reading. So, Betsy, you weren't here the last 2 weeks. Go ahead.
Uvnei Yisrael paru vayishretzu vayirvu vayatzmu bimod meod vatimale haaretz otam. But the Israelites were fertile and prolific. They multiplied and increased very greatly, so that the land was filled with them.
Right. ובני ישראל פרו וישרצו וירבו ויעצמו, פרו וישרצו וירבו ויעצמו. You can see that sequence of verbs, okay, one following another. Okay, all of these verbs, as you can see, are third common plural. Okay, talking about Bnei Yisrael, the children of Israel. And the result was Vatimale haaretz otam. Okay, and that multiplication, okay, starts, as you can see, not after the redemption, but through the exile itself. Okay, and vayishretzu, vayirbu, vayatzmu are vital verbs. Bimod meod. Hebrew is not very excessive on descriptions, but here you can see this adverb, not just a lot, not just increasingly, but very greatly. Bimod meod. Okay, very much. Okay, hence vatimale haaretz otam. You can see vatimale is a nif'al verb. You can see that dagesh in the first root letter that marks the assimilation of the nun. Okay, and connected to that in the Ashkenazi Haftarah, the first verse of the Ashkenazi Haftarah, which is from Isaiah 27, is at the bottom of this screen. Let's see the bottom one. So, guys, who's reading Isaiah 27:6? Yes, Jackie.
Okay, I'll read it. Habaim Yishresh Yaakov Yatzitz Uparach Israel Umalu Panei Tavel Tanuva. In days to come, Jacob shall strike a root, Israel shall sprout and blossom, and the face of the world shall be covered with fruit.
Right. Beautiful. Poetic verses. Obviously, you know that the prophetic style is mainly poetic, the prophecies themselves. Habaim yashresh Yaakov, yatzitz ufarach Yisrael, umal'u fenei tevel tenuva. So, yashresh, yatzitz ufarach, hence umal'u tenuva. You can see that the same root even is found in vatimale and umaleu. A few elements that we see in Habaim Yashre in this verse here, Isaiah 27:6, that are linguistic but are very characteristic of prophecy, and we should keep them in mind while reading prophecy, is that a prophetic language is talking about, has a certain linguistic style because it talks about events to come. So we see very commonly, let's say, the vekatal form alongside the yiktol. So we have yashresh, yiktol, because it's not a here. It's not. It's at the beginning of this sequence, and then we have yatzitz ufarach. We have yiktol, and vekatal, Habaim yashresh Yaakov, yatzitz ufarach Yisrael, umal'u penei tevel tenuva. These three short bicolas or short stichs or hemistichs are corresponding with each other, either by having the verbs describing this abundance or this growth, starting with taking root, sprouting and blossoming, and then the whole world shall be covered with fruit. So there you see gradual development of this metaphor from just taking root, blossoming, and then the whole earth is filled with fruit, tenuva, whatever that specific growth brings. Yaakov, Yisrael, Penei Tevel. Also, we have Jacob and Israel. That's the particular. Then you have the influence over the whole world. Okay. Another element, Habaim. Habaim is possibly a short for Hine Yamim Ba'im or Yamim Ba'im, which is very, very common in prophecies, talking about days to come, okay, a special day, the idea of a special day where things are going to be different. And the success of Israel, according to this prophecy, is a pathway, is the canary in the coal mine, but not in the negative sense how this phrase is usually used, for a universal blessing. Okay, it's Israel is gonna be back home. It's gonna be successful. That's gonna affect the whole universe. If you are listening to the news, you might actually see that in more than one way. Okay, so I've been following. I think Israel is probably the only country outside Iran that follows what's going in Iran very, very maybe the most closely. And I've been following the Middle East for many years. You've been here with me. You know that I even used to bring guests to talk about that, and sometimes I talk about it myself. What's going on now in Iran is the biggest since definitely 2022, maybe 2009, even 2009. And I wish the Iranian people a lot of success in their struggle for freedom. I think I even told you that I demonstrated alongside Iranian exiles when I was with my kids in London, in Piccadilly Circus. So yeah, it's crazy what's going on in Iran. The videos that are coming out, and now that they shut the internet and shut some of the telephone lines, shows you that they're even more intense. We wish them.
To watch boots on the ground.
Come again?
I like to watch boots on the ground from Israel. To get the news.
Israel is a small country.
Yes,
Israel is not the world. Israel is not running the world. I think that the 12-day war.
You get different perspective from Israel as you do to what we get through our internet.
What you say, Maureen?
Well, they tell us that Hamas is controlling Al Jazeera, and that's the sort of news that we get. But if you turn into boots on the ground and listen to Israel's news, you get a different perspective. That's good.
That's always the story. I wouldn't say that Hamas is controlling Al Jazeera. I would say that the people controlling Al Jazeera are also funding Hamas. That's
yes.
Definitely, that's
hand in glove. Yes.
Yeah, definitely. Unfortunately, they were also paying some people around the, prime minister's office, albeit in a very convoluted way, through an American guy, Jay Footlick. They paid him. He was registered as a Qatari foreign agent in America, but he paid an Israeli-American guy, and that Israeli-American guy paid someone who was working not exactly for the prime minister's office, but was advising the party of the prime minister. But I think that Netanyahu should have distanced himself immediately as soon as it came out, which he didn't do. But again, I'm not getting into the politics of Israel. We are in election year. We'll get enough of that down the road, I promise you. I'm sure we will. Okay, let's see again the not just the blossoming of Israel, but the relationship to Egypt in the Haftarah, because the Parashat talks about the slavery in Egypt, and the Haftarah talks about the coming back from Egypt. Okay, let's see. Isaiah 27, 12, and 13. Guys, yes. So who's reading? Don't be shy. I want to see hands. Yes,
Bahaya
okay,
Bayom
Chris.
Hahu Yachbot Yaho
Yachbot Adonai.
Mish
Adonai. Yeah.
Oh yeah, Adonai. Mish Shabolet Han Nahar. Any way to make the text bigger?
Yeah, there is a way.
Yeah, it's like font number 6.
You
make it bigger.
There
you go. Beautiful.
Okay.
Mish Shibolet Han Nahar Ad Nahal Mitzrayim Ba'atem Ta Luk Katu La Achad B'nei Israel. You want me to continue next line or give someone else a turn?
No, let's go one by one. Okay.
Hey, ready. Who's ready? Dinner.
There's a bit of a background noise. I'm muting everybody.
Oh.
Yeah, muting everybody. Oh. And you can unmute yourself, guys. I'm not taking away that ability, but I'm just helping those whose microphone was not muted. Now, והיה ביום ההוא יחבוט אדוני משיבולת הנהר עד נחל מצרים. So which river is the river?
Euphrates.
Very good. Euphrates is the river, and across the river is the Trans-Euphrates province of Assyria, Persia, whatever is the current empire, and that's the region from across when I say across, the reference point is the empire. So across would be west of the Euphrates all the way to the Mediterranean Sea. Okay, so God will strike from Shibolet Hanahal. You remember the word Shibolet, it's a linguistic term, a shibboleth, right? Do you remember the story behind this word, guys? Everybody knows. It's probably one of the only groups that the percentage of people who remember that and understand that the
Shibboleth and
biblical
Sibboleth.
background of this word is the highest in English. So shibboleth, as you remember from the book of Judges, is the term that was used to distinguish between the people of Ephraim and other people in a kind of a very bloody war, civil war under Yiftach, who does not have the wisdom of Gideon to settle things on the low, and he has to go around massacring his own people. In any case, Shibboleth is the word that is used. They cannot pronounce it as Shibboleth. How exactly they do pronounce it is a very big discussion. We read it as Sibolet, but probably wasn't like exactly a difference like an SH and an S. In any case, the word Shibolet could mean more than one thing. In Hebrew, it can be the stalk of grain, but it could also be the river or the torrent of a river or the channel, the area of a river. So from the Shibolet of the Euphrates until Nachal Mitzrayim. Where exactly is Nachal Mitzrayim is a good question. Some suggest it's El Arish, modern day El Arish, which historically was known as Rino Korora, which is those with a cut off nose. The city of people with shortened nose, like rhino. Rhino has a nose. That's a word for nose in Greek. And those people there were probably a colony of runaway slaves or crooks like Australia, and they had their nose cut off. So that's El Arish, Nachal Mitzrayim, and you will be gathered, Telu Ketu. By the way, this plays with the fact that the word Shibolet is a stalk of grain. And Leket is one of those commandments of taking the stalks of grain. You let the poor people, okay, take the fallings from whatever you harvested, whatever fell, okay, they can take it. Okay, so those fallen stalks of grain, as you can see, one by one, you will be gathered, picked up, and gathered one by one. So that's Shibolet, being torrent, but also being a stalk of grain. Beautiful kind of choice of word to describe the river and to describe the ingathering of Israel, based on that similarity between the word for a single stalk ear of grain, okay, and the torrent of a river or a channel of a river. Okay, let's see the next verse, which is a beautiful, beautiful verse. By the way, there's a beautiful song for the next verse. The melody by late Rabbi Shlomo Carlebach, who transferred Jewish music and Jewish prayer in the 20th century. Really amazing individual. But let's see the verse. If we have time at the end of the lesson, we'll listen to him singing that song. Okay, let's see the next verse. So Chris, you read, and yeah, I saw hands before who wanted to read. Susanna, you read, so but we had others that wanted to read. Ulrike, I think your hand was up, or you wanted to read?
Oh, yes, I do.
Go ahead, please.
והיה ביום ההוא יתקע.
Yitaka. Note it's a nifal, it's not a.
יתקע.
Very good. Yitka would be the kal.
יתקע ושופר גדול ובאו העובדים בארץ אשור והנידחים בארץ מצרים והשתחוו לאדוני בהר הקודש בירושלים.
Okay, I'm bringing back the English. Go ahead.
And in that day a great ram's horn shall be sounded, and the straight who are in the land of Assyria and the expelled who are in the land of Egypt shall come and worship God on the holy.
Right. The holy mount in Jerusalem.
Holy
No, the
mountain.
bottom.
Something is missing. Yeah.
Right. Maybe now you'll be able to see it.
In Jerusalem.
Right. The holy mountain in Jerusalem. Holy mountain, Jerusalem. First of all, you can see what we said before about prophetic Hebrew. You can see that both verses start with Vehaya. Vehaya bayom hahu. Vehaya bayom hahu. Very common in prophetic language. Keep eye for these things as they talk about, you know, what should be on that day, on the day of redemption. Not necessarily one day, okay, period of time. Okay, Yitaka b'shofar gadol, a great shofar will be blown. Again, Yitaka, and gives us the nifal. We can see the dagesh in the first root letter, hence the shofar is blown and not someone is blowing the shofar. Then ובאו העובדים בארץ אשור והנידחים בארץ מצרים. Again, you can see the parallelism, which I did not mark here very well, but you can see it nonetheless because you are well experienced in biblical Hebrew and reading biblical poetry. Be'eretz Ashur and Be'eretz Mitzrayim, you can see the bet preposition before the land of origin where they would come from. Uva'u, the verb applies for both ha'ovdim and hanidachim. In both cases, we use the participle to describe those people who are lost, those people who are expelled, and they would be gathered from Assyria, from the far east, and from Mitzrayim, which is the west and the south. And they come and they bow down, they will bow down l'Adonai behar HaKodesh Birushalayim. Uva'u vehishtachavu. Okay. They shall come and they shall bow down. Again, the vekatal verbs, also very, very characteristic of a biblical prophecy. Guys, I don't want to wait because I don't want to miss the opportunity, so we'll listen to Rabbi Shlomo Carlebach, really a rabbi that was, as I said, transformed Jewish music in the 20th century. I will put it and share it with you, and we'll take the 4 minutes or so to listen to this verse sang by Rabbi Carlebach, born in Germany, immigrated to the United States, and was known as the dancing rabbi, the singing rabbi. Very, very interesting. והנידחים בארץ מצרים והנידחים בארץ מצרים.
מדוע אתם שותקים? מדוע אתם שותקים, רבותיי? מה אתם מחכים?
So he says, wait a moment, guys. Wait a moment, guys. Why are you keeping silent? What are you waiting for? Okay, yeah. So he was a very, very interesting guy. Unfortunately, got a heart attack he took a flight, and on the plane he got a heart attack and he didn't recover. Yeah, amazing. I'm sure you might have heard about him. If you look him up, he was also a very, very gifted storyteller. His English was kind of first of all, he spoke obviously Hebrew, English, German, Yiddish. So you've got his English. Sometimes when he tells a Jewish story, is very kind of heavy on Yinglish or whatever, Jewish kind of English. but he's a very, very moving storyteller. And he has stories about, you know, how you can never judge a person. You never know what's the story about that, you know, their lives. And very, if you want to be moved, look him up, look his stories. Okay. At least it touches me very. Nate, you were showing something? I couldn't see. You have to unmute because I muted everyone.
Yes, it's on. I just found it on Wikipedia. There's an entry on the internet. It's very easy to find the basic information. I don't know how it's, but yeah, there it is. It's Wikipedia. He has a Wikipedia article. And I'm sure there are many others as well.
Yeah, sure, Rabbi. He was kind of famous. He had the house of the house of worship and love. That was the name of the synagogue he established in LA, I think, or in maybe San Francisco. House of worship and love. Anyway, he was very, very kind of a special rabbi in that sense.
So Netanel.
Yeah.
So in my youth, I did go to hear him.
Oh, very
He
good.
came to Toronto, and I went to hear him. You know, I went to talk to him a little bit, but he looked at me and says, "I don't think I'm going to see you again." And I guess he was right. I didn't see him again. I think his daughter still carries on.
Yeah, his daughter is Neshama Karlibach, right? And she still carries, but she doesn't have the same gravitas as he had. Yeah, but yeah, she sings. Yeah, wow, amazing. I didn't get to meet him, but he is the single individual that influenced Jewish prayer the most during the 20th century. Yes, Betsy.
I'm glad Roz was here. I hadn't seen her earlier, so I'm glad she's here. Netanel, he sings the song. I heard it. We were in the 7 weeks of comfort. Nakamu, Nakamu, Ami.
Nachamu, Ami. Yeah.
He had the whole album. I think it was called like An Evening with this guy. I didn't know who he was, but he sang. I listened to him. I bawled my eyes out listening to this song. And he stops and he talks in the middle of it, and then he starts going again. Beautiful.
Yeah. He was, and by the way, he was a rabbi, a legitimate rabbi. That is to say, he wasn't just a singer. He was a legitimate. Again, the word legitimate here means that he knew a lot of Torah. He was a bit alienated by Chabad after he became more popular, and he was kind of did things that they thought were not like kosher enough for them, but he was, as I said, very, very influential. He was very much opposed by some more conservative elements, but today after he's gone, oftentimes those people who opposed him sing his songs, and yeah. So that's, he also had some stories with women. Again, I'm not the judge, I'm not the jury, I'm not the executioner. I'm just saying, just to give the whole picture. I'm not, I don't know the details. I don't think that he was convicted in anything or anything, but but he strikes a chord, no doubt. And he said that he is happy that God didn't give him a great singing voice, because then people are not shy to sing along with him. If there is someone who sings so beautifully, you say, I cannot join even. He says, everybody joins. This is how he wanted it to be. So, okay, so Parashat Haftarah, we're continuing about disbelief and not listening. Guys, so who did not read yet? Don't be shy. And go ahead.
ויען משה ויאמר והן לא ואמינו
יאמינו
יאמינו לי ולא ישמעו בקולי כי יאמרו לא נראה אלוהיך אדוני. But Moses spoke up and said, "What if they do not believe me and do not listen to me, but say, the Lord did not appear to you?"
Right. So note the word vehen, which seemingly does not have, what is it doing here? This is kind of a presentative. It's drawing attention to the claim that Moses is presenting before God, when God is appointing Moses to be sent to the Hebrews and to bring them out of Egypt. He says, they will not believe me. Lo ya'aminu, note the characteristic of the hifil as the patach under the prefix. Velo yishmeu, here we have a kal, and you can see the difference between the hifil and the kal. Lo ya'aminu li velo yishmeu bekoli. By the way, speeches, direct speech, and poetry and prophecy are spoken, not told. Hence, they carry similar characteristics. So you can see, lo ya'aminu li velo yishmeu bekoli. Kind of a parallelism, right? Negative, negation, lo. The particle lo followed by the yiktol verb, third person masculine plural. Li, the indirect object here, and bekoli, okay, also. Hen presenting the case, drawing attention to the case that Moses is making here. Why? For they will say, Ki yomeru lo nir'a elecha Adonai. Come on. The Lord did not appear to you. You're just saying things. Okay? And similarly, we have with the prophecy of Isaiah here at the bottom. Let's see the next verse.
You want me to read?
Yeah, why not? Go ahead.
Asher amar alehem zot hamenucha hanichu le'ayof
Le'ayev.
le'ayev v'zot hamargea v'lo avu shmoa.
Shemoah.
So
Right.
I can't quite do the English. Something is he who declares to them, this is the resting place. Let the weary rest. This is the place of repose. They refuse to listen.
Right. So in both verses, we can see that we have a disbelief, not willing to accept the possibility of redemption. Of it's actually gonna be good. It's actually gonna happen. Okay, so redemption, salvation, is announced before the people are ready to accept it. Okay, very. It's not easy. You know, sometimes you say, I want something, but I'm sure if someone would come to the Israelites and say, do you want to be released? Yes. But, you know, when you're promised, when you're not ready for it, okay, you're opposing it. Okay? So the inability to hear that redemption or that salvation is presented both in the parasha, and the Haftarah. Okay, yet it shall come to pass, as we've seen in the other verses of the prophecy. We've seen this. We've seen this. Okay, now a bit about yes and.
I was just looking at the different words. There's two different kind of words for rest in that.
Right, menucha and marge'ah.
That's
Okay,
special.
yeah, it is special, but again, consider the parallelism, and you can see zot ha-menucha and ha-marge'ah.
Yeah.
Okay, it's very common in parallelism. You can see menucha. You remember Noach, okay, to rest, resting place, and marge'ah. If you noted in the video that we just saw of Karlibach, he says, "Rega, rabotai." A minute. Oh, my masters, literally. And has to do with waiting. So the word rega, short period of time, moment, okay, is related to marge'ah, to take a moment, to rest. Okay?
Thank you.
Velo avu shemoah. They don't want to hear. Okay? So, a bit about different traditions, okay? So menucha, if we're already getting to it, we've marked this nun vav chet, what we call the hollow verbs, okay? Verbs whose second root letter is a yod or a vav. They don't have like a 100% true consonant in the middle, so they behave differently. In this case, you can see that we have the u vowel represented by the vav, which was the original root letter here. Okay. Vezot hamarge'ah velo avu shemoah. They did not will to hear. Avu, wanted, consented, agreed. Okay, so we have zot hamenucha, zot hamarge'ah. These are nominal sentences where the demonstrative, the proximal demonstrative zot, is the alongside the noun itself are composing the sentence, where zot is the subject and the noun preceded by the definite article is the is completing the sentence. Okay, it functions as part of the nominal predication of the sentence. So we have the subject as zot, and the predicate is the noun here. Usually in a verbal sentence, the verb is the predicate, okay? But here, this is, in English, we have to have is. So it's a verb, all right? But this, the rest. This, the place of repose. In English, we have to have a verb. So we add this is. Okay, this is. But in Hebrew, we don't have to have a verb. So zot hamenucha. Zot hamarge'ah. Okay? That's diving a little bit deeper into this verse. Okay. Other traditions of Haftarot. So we kind of follow the Ashkenazi tradition, not just because I am Ashkenazi but because the overwhelming majority of Jews up until the Holocaust were Ashkenazi. 85% of the Jewish people were Ashkenazi up until the Holocaust. In Israel, you should know that it's about 50-50. So Israeli Jewry is different than American Jewry or European Jewry. Okay, with the exception of French Jewry, which because of the French colonies in North Africa is very, very has fairly high percent of non-Ashkenazi Jews. But generally speaking, the Ashkenazi tradition was the dominant tradition. Okay, but Israel is different, especially if you consider the more traditional, the more conservative, the more synagogue-going crowds. Then I think there is a majority for non-Ashkenazi Jews, even, especially if you're not counting the ultra-Orthodox. The Israeli people are about 50-50, and a lot of marriages within the different traditions. So you don't know, you can't tell, you know, and even people who happen to, let's say, I have except for Yair, who was killed in action 30 years ago, I have 8 siblings. So 4 of them are married to Ashkenazi, 4 of them are married to non-Ashkenazi. So so it's not an issue, and people, even though the ethnic background is a big issue in Israel, it's not that you won't marry outside of your group or something like that. People intermarry, less if they're ultra-Orthodox. Ultra-Orthodox Jews tend to less intermarry between the different groups. Okay, so if you're a Hasidic Jew with a whole like garb, you're less likely to marry outside of your ethnic group. Okay, but it's very common, and you know, it's such a mix. So I have a neighbor whose last name is very Polish, very Ashkenazi last name, but his father married a Yemenite woman. Okay, so he's half Yemenite, and he married a Yemenite Jewish woman. So his kids are 3/4 Yemenite Jews. They look Yemenite. They grew up on the Yemenite tradition, but they have a very Ashkenazi last name. Okay, so think about, you know, I have an Israeli last name because my father changed from Berkovich to Barak. But think about someone with a very Jewish Ashkenazi last name, Goldberg, Goldman, whatever, and they look like a Yemenite Jew, you know, and so that's how things are in Israel. There things are more mixed. Let's see the Sephardic tradition, which has to do with the similarity between the refusal of Moses accepting the mission to prophesy and to lead Israel, and the refusal of Jeremiah along the same lines. So, Gary, would you like to read? You have not read yet today.
Vayehi devar Adonai Eli lemor B'terem etzarcha ba beten yedaticha u terem tetzei berechem hikdashticha navi la goyim benataticha. The word of God came to me before I created you in the womb. I selected you. Some more?
Yeah.
Before you were born, I consecrated you.
A prophet to the nation.
Verse.
Right. So I this is God convincing.
Are you there?
Yeah. Are you with me, Gary? Can you hear me? Can you hear me, guys? Okay. So
I hear you.
Yeah. So God is telling Jeremiah, you know, I've made you for this job. And what is the reaction of Jeremiah? Let's see the next verse. Starting with the word va'omar, guys, and your hand is up.
Yep. Vayomer ata
Aha,
aha Adonai
Adonai Elohim. We can see that the
so,
tetragrammaton here is Elohim.
okay. Adonai Elohim. Hine lo yada'ati daver ki na'ar anochi. Vayomer Yeho.
Vayomer Adonai Elai. So
Sorry.
you can see
It's kind of small and my light is not very good. I'm so sorry.
No, it's all right. So Vayomer Adonai Elai. You'll have to take my word that I've circled the kamatz there.
Yes. Al tomar na'ar anochi ki al kol asher esh lach ha telech ve'et kol asher atzucha tedaver. Sorry.
Right. El kol asher atzavecha tedaber.
Yeah. I replied, "Ah, my sovereign God, I don't know how to speak, for I am still a boy." And God said to me, "Do not say, I am still too young, but go wherever I send you and speak whatever I command you."
Right. And obviously the Moses is saying to God, Vehen lo ya'aminu li, right? Hen lo ya'aminu li. We read it together, Exodus 4:1 from the weekly portion. So here as well, okay, Moses has his inhibitions. Lo ish devarim anochi. I'm not a man of words. Okay? And Jeremiah is saying exactly the same. He's saying, Lo yadati daber, ki na'ar anochi. I don't know how to speak. I'm just a young man. Na'ar. And God says, Al tomar na'ar anochi. Don't say I'm just a young boy. Ki al kol asher eshlachacha telech. Wherever I will send you, there shall you go. Ve'et kol asher atzavecha tedaber. Again, not unlike what God says to Moses. Mi sam pela la'adam. Who gives a mouth to a person? So it all goes back to me. And if I'm with you, you have nothing to worry about. Okay. So in both cases, the prophet is sent to a people in crisis. Okay, and in both cases, the prophet is expressing a deep concern, okay, an unwillingness to take the job. Okay, in both cases, God is telling them, you'll don't worry, I'm with you. However, unfortunately, the striking, there is also, except for the striking similarity, there is a very strong difference, and the difference is that Moses is sent to redeem the people, while Jeremiah, quite the contrary, is sent to talk about prophecy of destruction. Okay. And last tradition of Haftarah is the Haftarah that is accepted by Yemenite Jews, and not just Yemenite, also people who came from some parts of Iraq and some parts of North Africa. There are some like specific kind of traditions that came from one place to another, and that's the verses talking about the birth of Israel in Egypt. By the way, we read some of it in the Seder. Okay, so if you see the last verse here, verse 7, and you recognize it from the Seder night, you're not wrong. Okay, we mentioned that verse in the Seder night as part of that rabbinic design of the Seder discussion and the midrashim around it. Okay, and it has to do with the birth of Israel in Egypt, the beginning of Israel in Egypt, this helplessness, this complete, inability to help yourself. Okay, and the need for someone to take care of you, and how God is the one that initiates the redemption from Egypt, but here in a very different genre, as opposed to a narrative story that we have in the book of Exodus. In the book of Ezekiel, we have a prophetic allegory talking about finding a baby and taking care of that baby and growing that baby. Okay, but in both cases, Israel is not redeemed because of their actions, but because of the covenant and the kindness of God. Okay, I'll read this, so I get to read a little bit as well. Lynn, you didn't read at all yet today, right?
No.
So would you like to read the first two lines, and I'll do the last three.
Okay.
Okay.
That's a big word there, that first one.
Yeah, I gave you the difficult ones. If you want, I'll take the first three and then you take the last two. They're easier. But I know you like a challenge. I'm sure you do.
Okay, we'll give it a try. Umodotaich.
Umoledotaich, very good.
Say that one more time, please.
Umoledotaich.
Umolodotaich. Beyom huledet. Otach lo karat sharech.
In both cases, we have a kamatz katan, lo chorat shorech. Yeah, difficult, but yeah.
Oh, okay, yes.
Not very common, by the way. This is nobody. There was no one around to cut your umbilical cord.
Okay.
You were a stranded baby. Okay, so all of the things that are done to a newborn baby were not done to you. Okay, on the day that you were born, no one cut your umbilical cord, and then it goes forward. Uvamaim. Continue. Uvmaim.
Lo urhatsta le mishi ve hom leach lo hum lahat ve hachtel lo chuta lecht.
Right, I
I'll
should
let you
use
read
this
the
to
first
teach the
two.
passive in biblical Hebrew, right? לא חורת שורך, ובמים לא רוחצת למשעי, והומלח לא הומלכת, והוכתל לא חוטלת. Okay, that's no one did all of these actions to you. You were a helpless baby. No one was stranded baby. לא חורת שורך, no one cut your umbilical cord. After I did so well in the delivery room that the midwife said, I'll call you for other women as well. She didn't call, I don't know why. But well, anyway. ותושלכי על פני השדה בגועל נפשך ביום הולדת אותך, on the day of your birth. Modern Hebrew, not just modern Hebrew, but also biblical. Yom Huledet, birthday, literally birthday. ואעבור עלייך, ואראך מתבוססת בדמייך, ואומר לך, בדמייך חיי, ואומר לך, בדמייך חיי. So this metaphor is the metaphor of the beginning of Israel in Egypt as a helpless baby when God intervenes. Guys, I want to also talk a little bit about Samuel. As I said, it takes me a little bit longer than I expected to write the course, but I do have the first parts of it already written down. We'll talk about the structure of the book. We'll talk about the style of the book. We'll talk about the main figures of the book before we start reading it. But that's the plan. What else? I'm starting a course of the Society for Natural Protection in Israel, Nature Protection Society in Israel. I'm starting a course. That course is special for tour guides. So they are trained to work with Israeli bureaucracy is complicated. I can guide tours, both Israelis and from abroad, but I cannot guide soldiers or school kids. And that training will allow me to do that. I'm not planning on doing a lot of schools. It's not exactly my thing at the moment, but I said it might be interesting, and they might even give me some, the government might help me do the course because I did a lot of miluim, so they might help with that. I'm still waiting on answers. So I'm gonna start next week. It's 13 days spread over about a month and a half. But it's a bit intensive in those days. And I will let you know more about obviously next week, same time, same place. And as soon as Samuel will be ready enough, I'm not going to finish writing everything before we start the course, but as soon as we have the first parts ready, I will let you know when and how we're going to do it. Also, in what way we're going to operate in 2026. That's the plan. And as always, it's a pleasure. And Shabbat Shalom to everybody.
Shabbat
Bye-bye.
shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
Shabbat shalom.
You're welcome.